Hey, how's it guys? Welcome to the channel. I just want to thank everyone for all the views, likes, comments. I really appreciate it. And this is going to be a very long, very ranty, facts-filled video. But I suspect that it's going to be mostly rants full of facts. So let's go. I learned that flat earth was still an idea about 2 years ago when I came to YouTube, and I started watching people like Team Skeptic and Simon Dan debunking the likes of M. Benz and D. Marble, etc. And I was kind of inspired to take my own photos from here in the Southern Hemisphere, because it seemed these flat earthers were only looking at the earth from the Northern Hemisphere perspective and didn't have like a full view picture of the earth. And then I was inspired to put those photos on YouTube, like a channel of my own. But at first, clearly, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But as I learned more from my observations, I started presenting my observations in a more coherent manner. Then I heard flat earthers say things like, "Don't trust the government," although I've never heard my government say anything about the shape of the earth, or "Don't trust NASA," or "NASA lies," or whatever. So I was inspired to do my own research as per flat earthers' advice. So this is basically a revenge video of all my observations from here in the Southern Hemisphere. That's why it's gonna be so long, because I have to explain to flat earthers that they are wrong when they say that we cannot use the sky to prove the ground. Because the earth is not an independent entity just free floating at its own will. It is a part of a solar system which is gravitationally bound by an absolutely massive sun. Scientists have measured the gravitational pull of our sun, and it is a massive 274 meters per second squared. If you compare that to the Earth's measly 9.8 meters per second squared, or the Moon's even less 1.6 meters per second squared, that will tell you that, well, the Earth is nothing compared to the sun. The sun becomes the big cheese, the big kahuna, the guy who controls everything. And if you want to understand why the objects go in the directions that they go, then you'll have to learn something called conservation of momentum. These motions started happening at the formation of the solar system already. And even if any object is knocked off trajectory, it'll still stay gravitationally bound to the sun. From here on Earth, it looks like the sun is going around us. But from millennia of observation, we have deduced that that is not the case. It just looks like that. And this is where I can say flat earthers don't possess basic skills like depth of field or thinking in 3 and 4 dimensions, and this is where their logic fails them. I started with the photograph from November 2018 to show where the position of the sun was then, and from there it worked its way a little bit more left or southwest, and then I tracked it coming back all the way right or northwest. And I've tracked it going back to the left or southwest, and now we are almost back at northwest. Okay, so how can we explain this change in position every day of where the sun sets? How do flat earthers explain this? And that also is another knock in their idea, because the sun is going down below the horizon. Time after time, it is going down below the horizon. Because we have what we have at our disposal, and that is perspective, flerfs, from here on Earth, we are not looking at anything from anywhere else in the solar system but here on Earth. Okay, so we track the movement of the sun, as I have done, and you can see evidence in this video. Okay, then we have, for example, calculated that it takes 365.25 Earth rotations for the sun to return to the same position in the sky. Now, in a past video, I said we use parallax and stuff to, do our calculations, and this one guy just shut me out from a dizzy height. But actually, I don't need to know the intricate details. I just need to know what the basic understanding is of how to interpret what I'm seeing. And then what I did was I went to observe it for myself, because of flat earthers' sing-song of do your own research. Now I have found that the sun does this back and forth, and I've shown this previously in previous videos, and I will be doing another full circle video for the winter solstice in June. Look forward to that, because that is going to be another nail in the flat earth coffin, because I am not a scientist, and as much as I love maths, I don't have the confidence to execute doing the sums. So I am doing what flat earthers said, which is do your own research and do your own observations. Look for yourself. And as we can see here, the sun, time and time again, is going down below the horizon, and my sky gets dark. If the sun wasn't or shouldn't set on a supposed flat earth, then the sun should disappear into the distance but still stay in view because it is above the horizon. But in this case, it doesn't stay above the horizon. And even worse, it comes up above the opposite horizon, as if it's making a circle around the earth and not atop the earth, which once again deceives our vision. I mean, I know that the sun is traveling at 1 mood of a speed, but not around the earth, around the galaxy. Okay? So when we are looking at the sun, we are looking at it from Earth's perspective. And from Earth's perspective, because of Earth's rotation on its own axis, it makes it look like the sun is going around the earth. But I guarantee you, okay, that the sun is not moving at that speed around our planet. It is our planet that is rotating on its own axis that makes us see the sun in a certain position at a certain time, like consecutively. I think you might have to minus 4 minutes every day. Okay? But just have a rethink about it. Is the sun moving at that speed around the earth? Or does it make more sense that the earth is revolving on its own axis at the speed of 1,600 kilometers at the equator on its own axis and returning to the same position every 23 hours and 56 minutes? Okay, think about it for a little bit. You see, guys, I told you this was going to be a rant because I know what I am seeing. My camera is not conjuring up images on its own. It is capturing at that exact second, because I make these videos, especially these sunsets videos, in time lapse. So basically it's every second or second and a half or 2 seconds or whatever it is. And then I trim it and speed it up or slow it down to show what I want to show. And as you can see, the sun doesn't set in the same position every day. It does change its position by just slightly more than 1 degree every day. And this is what propels the earth in its orbit around the sun. And later on in this video, I have even more evidence, observational evidence. No science, no maths, just observations showing that what we see happening in the sky is from Earth's perspective. And don't get me wrong, those objects that we are looking at in the sky, they have their own motions. You know, guys, I could have made this video a hell of a lot more painful and hurtful towards the flat earth idea than I have. I could have included videos of the moon rising and setting, Australis Triangulum and Crux rising in the southeastern horizon and going around, literally making a circle in front of my very eyes. Some of these stars stay above the horizon throughout the entire rotation of the Earth on its own axis. I can capture all of these things and show them to you, but I chose the sun because the sun is the thing that is at all our disposals. No matter where we are on Earth, we get an opportunity to see the sun at some time in a 24-hour period. Given there are that specific time periods where the North and South poles have their respective 24-hour days, 24 hours of daylight and 24 hours of darkness. But all of that into consideration, we can see everything happening only from Earth's perspective. We don't have another perspective. We are exactly here on Earth, and what we see happening in the sky actually reflects what's happening on the ground. Here you can see my absolute dedication to this project, because this is the sunset from the 20th of May. And now we get into even more fun stuff. Now, sometime back in September 2019, I realized that Venus was in my western skies. And I started taking photos, and I've basically found the photos that I've taken. And when I started, I didn't realize that it was going to be this important to my observational evidence of, well, the earth rotating on its own axis mainly, which is the thing that makes the sun looks like it's going down below the horizon and coming up above the opposite horizon. But Venus does the same thing in my celestial skies. So I've found a sequence of photos that I've taken that shows Venus progressing also towards the southwest and reaching a certain point and almost bouncing back towards the right or northwest. And as you will see later in this video, it is now very, very extremely deep in the northwestern skies, where it's going to disappear for a couple of weeks and then emerge as the morning star sometime in the third week of June for us here in the southern hemisphere. I have no perspective of how it works in the northern hemisphere, because obviously no flat earther has made the effort to make these kinds of observations. And here we are at the start of the very important observational evidence towards all my arguments against a flat earth idea. Here is Venus now very extremely high above my head, and I struggle to focus on it. And as you can see, the light there I showed because of the very extreme angle I had to put my camera in to capture this. But note, there is no new moon or waxing crescent in this shot. Right, so what happens here is that the waxing crescent makes an appearance extremely high above the church, and as you can see, the top of my roof there. And I wasn't ready to film it, so the next day I was ready, and as you can see, my camera is at an extreme angle, and this is what I caught: the moon and Venus seemingly going down towards the horizon at the same speed. How is this possible? Because in reality, we know that that is not true. The moon is traveling at 1.022 kilometers per second, and Venus is traveling at 35 kilometers per second, and the Earth is traveling at round about 30 kilometers per second. So how can it be that the moon and Venus are seemingly moving down towards the horizon at the same speed? Well, I think I've figured it out. You see, the thing is, well, I'm on Earth. I don't have another perspective, because where I am is where I am, and where I am is on Earth. And since these objects in my viewing skies are not traveling at the same speed as each other, it must be that it is me with my camera attached to the Earth that's traveling away from these objects at a constant rotational speed. And that speed, as calculated by the scientists and whoever all else who does these observations, is 1,600 kilometers per hour at the equator. But I don't know if I can say that that's the speed I am moving away from these objects at, because remember, there is a 5 kilometer per second difference between the Earth's velocity and Venus's velocity. So I don't know what speed I am moving away from these objects at. But what I know is that I am viewing the sky from Earth's perspective, and from what I see happening in the sky, I have to infer that the Earth is doing that. Therefore, these objects appear to move at a constant speed. I have shown other examples of objects moving at a constant speed, like the Triangulum Australis and Crux, which people in the northern hemisphere cannot view. And those stars too have their own velocities and rotational speeds. So I can put that on the pile for a constantly rotating planet. So, after observing all these motions from Earth's perspective, I can lean towards the conclusion that it must be the Earth in that constant rotational speed, making it look like everything else is doing that. And I can almost understand why flat earthers would want to just take the stuff at face value and not look deeper into it. You know, especially the position. I mean, if you can just see in these last few video clips where Venus appears, I tried to capture it when it appears as soon as the sun goes down. It is very difficult because it is, you know, behind the Earth. So I'm capturing it from a very acute angle. And it's actually going to disappear from my view for a couple of weeks from the end of May. And then it's going to reappear in my eastern horizon as the morning star. And then if I want to photograph it, I will have to dash out before sunrise. So all these things have to be explained by these flat earth people. If the earth was stationary and only the other objects were in motion, I don't think we'd see it the way we are seeing it. Alright guys, so that's the video. I hope you enjoyed my showcase. It has been a time-consuming effort, but I so love it, and I'm going to carry on observing my western skies here and see what Orion is going to be doing in the next couple of nights, because from the looks of it, it's going to disappear from my view for a couple of months. So guys, catch you in the next video. Bye.